Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi everyone. The topic of my paper is Corporate Governance and Culture, a systematic review. I myself, Afkar Majid, I'm a PhD scholar at Azman Hashim International Business School, University Technology, Malaysia, and my co-author is my supervisor, Professor Dr. Rohida. I start my presentation with outline of my paper, that is introduction, a methodology, results, conclusion, limitation, future directions, and at the end question and answer session. Starting with the introduction, the basic aim of this paper is to provide a systematic review of literature on corporate governance and culture diversity. Further elaborating what I have researched in this paper, the corporate governance has evolved after the world major scandals like Enron, Tycoon, and WorldCom and etc. After these scandals, there is a constant knock on the regulators, on the doors of the regulators. What went wrong despite of all these measures? So the evolution of corporate governance is started from there. The one strand of literature mainly focus on audit committees, working of the board, financial reporting quality, and corporate social responsibility. The difference is that the corporate governance structures in developed and developing countries are totally different. There are a number of other reasons. One of the major reasons after the review is ownership concentration. The difference of ownership concentration is one of the major factors that has been highlighted by the number of studies. So this factor affects corporate governance structures and corporate governance at large, and ultimately the firm performance. After the research of literature, there are the few factors that are visible that can affect the performance, and there are few factors that are invisible. Most of the research that has been done is on the visible factors, like the composition of the board, audit committees, meetings. There are other gender aspects. These aspects are very easy to analyze, measure. But relatively, one aspect that is being neglected is the culture. It is an invisible factor that is being neglected and that is being under-researched. Culture is a multidimensional and broader concept. It is not a unidirectional or a narrow concept. But the studies, recent studies, number of studies, have measured culture, have investigated culture with one or two particular aspects. For example, cultural diversity is measured with the help of color, with the help of religion, with the help of language. These aspects, definitely they measure the aspects of the culture, but one or two aspects of the culture. So, importantly, this factor must be investigated in detail because the shaping of corporate governance practices is mainly due to globalization in boardrooms. The globalization in boardrooms. This is ultimately the globalization in boardrooms mean number of directors from different origins are present on the boards. So these directors possess certain norms, values, beliefs that are totally different from one another. So it can be beneficial for the company, it cannot be. The culture act as a double-edged sword. There is a benefit of it. It is called in the research, lot of literature. A culture is a software of software. It is not a hardware. So it's very difficult and technical phenomena. So how to optimize culture diversity? So in this paper, we have chosen the prisma philosophy to for the investigation. Two research terms are being used. One is the corporate governance, another is the cultural diversity. The time frame that is selected for this study is from 2016 to 2020, so that we can have a more recent snapshot. The selected studies were of both qualitative and quantitative nature. In this study, we have selected two major databases that have a big impact in the world of research. One is Scopus, another one is the Web of Science. All the papers that are being selected are in English language, and no other language paper is being selected. No conference paper, no book chapter is being selected in the final sample. The results of this study shows, as if you've seen how this we have sorted out. In total, we have identified the relevant according to the research term from Scopus 206 and from Web of Science 41. In total, we have 247. Removal of duplications is 30, and then after reviewing of their abstract, 110 papers are being excluded. After they're going through their full text version, more 62 papers are being excluded. At the end, the sample of papers were 45. The table 2 shows that the majority of the studies have quantitative characteristics. They are being investigated based upon some qualitative characteristics. That is 87%. And 13% of studies are of qualitative side. If you see this figure 3, the figure 3 shows that in which countries those papers are being published. And interestingly, as if you link my previous argument that it is a multi-dimensional concept, it is a globalized concept. That's why if you see the spike in the paragraph in the chart, if you see the multi-country effect has a multi-country studies have a greater number as compared to the single country studies. And the figure 4 shows the citations per year, and it is also showing the increasing trend. From the review of systematic review of the paper, we have identified different strands of literature, how up till now these strands are being working. First of all, the majority of the studies that are being discussed have research culture with respect to 3 major theories. That is resource-based view, resource dependency theory, and agency theory. Secondly, as highlighted earlier as well, the religion is one particular aspect that is being investigated. The boards are the phenomena where the culture is being investigated. Other aspects are being neglected up till now. The corporate governance and culture, it is again a double-edged sword. It can be positive, it can be negative. That is dependent upon number of other factors, quote unquote. Another domain which is being shown after the investigation, like culture dimensions, the recent studies also have investigated the impact of cultural dimensions of firm performance, like the power distance, individualism, uncertainty avoidance, a number of masculinity. These dimensions, as defined by the Who Street, are being investigated. Another aspect that has been seen, another stream of literature, culture is mostly companies globalize their board when they want expansion, when they want transformation. So culture is very useful when you are transforming or expanding your company. These studies are also been happening. Culture and financial reporting quality and financial reporting and impact on CSR is another stream that is being investigated. And lastly, The culture and diversity is another aspect that has been under the microscope, and the lot of growing areas is lot of emerging area where the lot of working is taking place is the diversity. Finally, I'm coming to the conclusion of my study. The investigation based upon our sample suggests that culture is an invisible mechanism that can affect various corporate governance choices of the board member, like the selection of different opportunities, information dissemination to the stakeholders, financial reporting mechanism, and a lot of other aspects. So board members are from the different culture. They can be affecting lot of things. So therefore, managers and the companies must be very careful, must consider culture as an essential component while making certain decisions. So it is very important for the management of the company when they are being diversifying in terms of culture diversity on boards, in the company, in the practices, because this can be beneficial as well as it can be tricky as well. The study has some limitations as well. Firstly, the study only used the two research terms. More research terms can be used. Secondly, the two databases that are only being considered, that is Scopus and Web of Science. Thirdly, the study considers those journals that are published in English language. I must feel like this after reviewing few of the papers, because culture is a broader subject, other languages studies must be included for the future scholars. Lastly, the study only considered 5-year time period. The broader time period can reveal different trends. Future analysis must consider culture dimension. As I mentioned, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty, avoidance, and power distance. There can be more useful results. More databases can be explored to get a significant and better picture. That's all from my side. If you have any questions, more than welcome. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.